Let's cross down to Canberra now, where, as you saw earlier, where the focus is on the Prime Minister's trip to Japan and the G20 meeting later this week. A lot of the focus there is going to be on the trade war, the trade battle that's being carried out between the US and China. Scott Morrison has been saying that Australia can play a constructive role in these trade disputes, these trade negotiations, but the Chinese ambassador to Australia has now weighed in. James, what's the latest?
Scott Morrison, in a wide-ranging and important foreign policy speech, has said that everyone should be involved in easing tensions between the US and China. This comes ahead, as you say, of that visit to Japan for the G20 meetings. Scott Morrison emphasising that Australia isn't taking a side here, but says that some of the US's concerns about Chinese activity is legitimate. Concerns with, for example, intellectual property theft, concerns with industry subsidies that are causing overdevelopment and oversupply, and also forced technology transfer. Now, Scott Morrison has been very much urging for everyone involved at the table, particularly the US and China, to ease tensions rather than ramp up the rhetoric.
The accumulation of issues that have led to these tensions must be acknowledged. They must be addressed. They must be resolved at the negotiating table in a way that reinforces open and inclusive global trading systems.
But before the Prime Minister made that speech in Sydney, the Chinese ambassador to Australia was speaking here in Canberra, and whilst Ambassador Cheng said that China is open to negotiation with the United States, China is ready to fight to the end to protect its interests.
There is no winner in the trade war. China doesn't want a trade war. Nonetheless, it will firmly safeguard its own legitimate rights, interests, and development rights. As we have made it clear, China is open to negotiations, but will also fight to the end.
Now, in that speech, the Australia-China Business Council, Ambassador Cheng said that Australia and China should work together to establish more cooperation in bilateral investment rather than to establish obstacles. One particular obstacle that China is concerned about in Australia is that Huawei is banned from investing in our 5G network. He was the ambassador on that issue. Is Australia setting up obstacles to Chinese investment, particularly around 5G, Ambassador?
Well, it's something everyone knows that.
Yes. What are the obstacles to more cooperation between Australia and China? What are the obstacles, and are there any that Australia is setting up?
Well, technically, there are technical issues. There are issues other than technical, or and better understanding and improve the relations, and also the better use of the existing mechanism. A lot of things have to be done.
Today, also, Chris, Scott Morrison emphasising that Australia and China can work together more closely, that Australia's approach to Chinese investment is non-discriminatory but will still protect our national interest.